Hello, I'm James. I'm one of the tech champions for the Digital Culture Network, and today's session is all about how to deliver successful online training, workshops, and events. Now, that is a big ask. So what we're going to do is explore some of the key concepts together and learn about some of the things that you've experienced when you've been to online events and what works for you. And then we're going to talk through some of the things that we've found as the Digital Culture Network and the organizations that we've spoken to. And we're going to go through what the agenda is today. But today we have Amanda is helping us to do the subtitling and closed captions. So if you would like to have those on, there's a button at the bottom of the screen again. Just press the CC button and you can see the captions come through. We've also got the lovely Nick, who's one of our tech champions as well. So show your face, Nick. There we go.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
everyone. Nice to see you.
So Nick is going to be managing the chat for me today. And we're going to pop in different links and things like that as we go through. We were going to do some breakout sessions, but there's too many of you for Zoom. So there's 100 person attendee cap for breakout rooms, and we've got far more than that. So apologies, we're going to change the content slightly, but it's still going to be interactive. So we're going to talk about that as we go through. So this whole thing is being recorded, and we're going to share that and additional resources after this event. So if you miss something, don't worry. We're going to record it, and you can watch it back on our website and on YouTube. So just stick with us. If you miss something, don't worry. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to look at promotion and registration of events and training and workshops. We're going to look at the challenges of delivery. We're going to look at some platforms and their functionality. We're going to look at the technical setup if you were going to deliver anything yourself. We're going to look at accessibility as well. And then lastly, it's going to be the post-event follow-up. So I'm going to be jumping back to these slides regularly so you can see at what stage we are as we go through there. Now, if you've worked or if you've been in contact with the Digital Culture Network before, you may have used this email address. So it's the digitalnetwork@artscouncil.org.uk. I'm sure Nick will put this in the chat for us. But if you are eligible for Arts Council England funding, so even if you're not receiving funding, but you're eligible for it, so you're within the arts and culture sector, you can get one-to-one support from the Tech Champion. So there's 9 of us with different specialisms. And if you need help with anything, if you want just to ask a question about a certain thing, what works for you, what you need help for in your organization, what platforms to use, things like that, and get in touch with us. We can answer that. And we'll work with you on a one-to-one basis. You can also check out our website, which is digitalculturenetwork.org.uk. And on there, you'll find our upcoming webinars that you can sign up to. You'll find out all the content and webinar recordings from our past things, as well as lots of resources, knowledge-based articles, and lots of content to do with arts and culture. So utilizing digital technology in arts and culture. So at this point, we were going to do a breakout session, but we're just going to ask you a question instead. So it's question time. So what I'd like you to put in the chat, if you would, and then me and Nick are going to have a little quick chat through what your responses are. The first question is, what was the best online event you've attended? It could be recently, it could be, the beginning of time. What was the best online event you attended? Just pop that in the chat. And why was it good? So those are your 2 questions. Stick it in and we're going to have a chat about it. I'm just going to get rid of existing distractions. Perfect. Okay, I was going to bring up my chat. Now, Nick attended something recently, didn't you? It was from Substract. How did you find that?
Yes, I did. They were using a platform called Veto, which essentially creates like an online digital kind of conference space. So they'll use Zoom to actually hold their meeting or their webinar, and they stream that over to Veto. So I log into Veto, I've got discussion boards, I've got information about the speakers, I've got a timeline of the events. It just made it a really nice replica of what you would find if you were there in the physical space. And I thought that was really good. That was a really nice experience to sort of engage with the other attendees as well.
Brilliant. I'm seeing a lot of that, like new piece of technology coming out that can enable these things to have like an online conference, and it is seamless, because I think we're all craving that network ability, and to have a chat with people and just just chat over coffee, in between sessions. You kind of miss those things, through this whole period. Let's have a look at the chat, shall we? See what's on there. What have we got? Oh, everyone's chucking in stuff. What's this one? I immediately jumped out of me, a cheese and wine. Where did that go? It's just disappeared.
It's cheese and wine painting sessions on Facebook.
Wow. I'm not sure if that's painting with cheese.
Yes. Or whether you're just getting absolutely full on cheese, drinking lots of wine and doing painting sessions with each other. So hopefully maybe something like that.
That's it. What was good about it? The cheese and wine.
The cheese and wine, yeah.
Amazing. Fantastic. Oh, it's great seeing all of these. It's really interesting. Yeah, online cooking class, brilliant. Yeah, all of these things, it's just bringing physical things into the digital realm and just letting us connect still, even though we're so dispersed across the world when we're going through all this. Fantastic.
But loads of those themes that are coming through there, James, exactly what you said earlier about that feeling of connection, and so that you're sort of going through and learning something, or you're experiencing an event, but you're also connecting with other people. And I think that's something that a lot of people have mentioned about missing live events or live conferences, live training, is that kind of peer-to-peer experience. So looking at all of these different options coming through, it kind of sounds like a similar sort of feeling.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? It's great. Lovely to see. Fantastic. A virtual baby shower. Lovely. We've been to events where physical things have been sent through the post to make it more interactive in that way, and that seems to work really well as well. Yeah, these are great. So it's really good to see the really mix of different technologies being used, whether it's like Facebook Live or Zoom as we're using now, or different platforms as well. So like Twitch we've got on there, and YouTube. It's great. An online spa facial session. These virtual hands. I don't know whether... This is amazing. Fantastic. Right, so I think that's great to read through. We're going to have a look at those after this event as well. Oh, brilliant. And so I'm just going to go back to my slides now. So what I'm doing here is you're viewing my second screen, and I'll show you the setup that we have later on and what works for me. But I find this really useful to have a second screen when I'm presenting using a PowerPoint. That's what you're looking at now, because I can focus on this screen, which has got my camera. I'm looking directly at you in the eyes to help with that engagement aspect of running online events. And all my notes are in front of me, so I'm not staring at that. I've got all the extra bits that I want to tell you. So I find that works really well. So the next bit we're going to look at is the promotion and the registration part of it. So what we find works well for us as the Digital Culture Network, and please share your own thoughts on this in the chat, but the longer we schedule it in advance, the more people we get to sign up. That's obviously because more people over time are going to see our event. You're going to see it in listings, it's going to get shared wider, but it also allows people to set aside time to attend anything that you're putting on. We run things at, they were on a Thursday, but we're starting to do them on a Wednesday, and usually around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, we've had feedback that maybe for some of our attendees, because the school run is at 3 o'clock, that we might want to think about shifting it. So that's the scheduling is all down to the audience that you want to attend. So we might change that or run different sessions as well to cater to the needs of those other attendees. The second point is capturing the attendee details in advance. If you can have some sort of sign-up form to capture your users' details, it allows you to build your own database of audience members, and you can start to drip feed content about your organization or your offer over time. Like, for example, when you've signed up to this, we use Eventbrite, and it's allowed us to capture your email addresses. Most people have subscribed to our newsletter, so then the future events are going to come directly into your inbox. You're going to learn a bit more about us over time. The third point, and really works for us, is that we ask a question about what you want to get out of this session. So what do our attendees want to get out of the session that we're running? And that not only helps us shape the content of what we're going to deliver, because we have an idea of what would be useful, but you by you telling us what you'd like out of this session really helps us focus on what we can deliver in this session, but what we can also deliver in future sessions. So in this one, we're going to talk about some of the key concepts and show some different functionality. But in future ones, we might go further in depth because you've asked those questions in the sign-up form. What that also does is give us, it allows us to set the expectation of what this is. So we can tell you in advance what this session is going to cover and then what it's not. And then in the future, we could write knowledge-based articles and stuff like that on other stuff that you've identified as part of that sign-up. And that is just some of the things we need to think about with registration. Next, we're going to go on to the challenges of delivery. Now, this is just some of the challenges, not all of the challenges, it's just some. So these are the things that you might want to consider when you're thinking about running anything online. And the first one is the attendee live experience. So I'm using a Microsoft Surface tablet to deliver this, connected to a second screen. What I'm showing and what I anticipate that you can see might be very different. So some of you might be joining on a phone, so you might only see certain amount of text, or it might be small for you, the actual text that you can read. So we need to be able to make sure that the content that we're putting out is still visible on small screens. If it's like a Zoom meeting with lots of people joining us, if you're joining on an iPad or phone, you're only going to see a few of those people. You're not going to see all of them. So the attendee live experience is very different to it's all unique to you as the users. So you need to be aware of that when you're planning. And that's why we do recommend testing everything in advance. Run sessions with close friends or your colleagues to see what it looks like for the different devices that they might be viewing your content on. Now, second is making the content that you put out accessible for all. And we're trying to do that. That's why we've got Amanda doing the closed captioning. So if you need to read that instead of just hearing me, you've got that additional element. But it's all about, there's different impairments. It could be physical, cognitive, there's different ways. So like your vision might not be so good. So what can we do when we're delivering anything to help you with that? Making the text bigger, increasing the contrast of stuff. Now we've created an article. We've ran a. Sorry, just bear with me. My toddler just screaming in the background. So our tech champion Roberta has ran a webinar on creating accessible content. So I recommend watching the recording of that, and you'll find that on our website. We'll share the links to that after this event. Now, I'll go into accessibility in more detail further down the webinar as we talk through. Now, another challenge that we find with challenges of doing stuff online is gauging the understanding of a topic. So at the moment, we've got the chat. So if you can prompt me on there if there's something that you don't quite understand, or if we were doing like a Zoom meeting, we can use like the thumbs up responses and all that functionality that it has, so that reaction element to it. When you were in a room in the past, in a room full of people, you'd see them nodding their head when you're telling them things, going, oh yes, I understand the stuff that you're telling me. In this situation, it's very difficult. And that's why we offer the follow-up one-to-one support, because each of your things that all the things that you want to overcome are very specific to you and your organization, and trying to cover that generally in a webinar when it's just me and Nick talking at you essentially with some feedback from chat is quite difficult. So it's being aware of that, like getting the cues and what you could use to actually gauge an understanding of the topic that you're putting out. Lastly, it's keeping people engaged. So what we were going to do is at the breakout rooms. So that's one example of doing that. But because Zoom has a cap of 100 people when it's the webinar, Zoom meetings, we've actually switched this to a webinar to have more of you here. So we can't do the breakout bit, but we can do other things. So we're going to try out some of the extra functionality, because we're very aware, we've all been there on these kind of training sessions, that we get tired. You know, there is Zoom fatigue of sitting there watching someone talking at you for so long. So there are ways to make it interactive, and we're going to look at some of those. And there's peaks and troughs that you can do in your content. But first, I wanted to look at some of like the technical issues that you might have might struggle with when you're presenting stuff online. And the first of those is video. So if you're playing video and content in your presentations, it can come through differently to your audiences. So what I'm going to do now is going to show you a video. Now this is a recording of Dean. So when Dean did this video earlier on last year, is now on YouTube, and you can watch it. So this is a YouTube embed in Zoom, so in PowerPoint, and we're playing it through Zoom. So why it's an issue is because when we press play on this video, it's coming from YouTube into my computer using my bandwidth that way, and then it's going back out to you because it's been processed in that way. So you need to have a really good internet connection for it to go that way, and then you as end users have to have high bandwidth to actually enable it. So I'm going to play this, and then what we're going to do is going to do a little quiz. So we're going to use the polling function of Zoom.
Hi, it's Dean from the Digital Culture Network, and you, like me, you're probably stuck at home at the moment, and you probably had to cancel some conferences or live events, and you're wondering how you can still reach your audience. I too have had to cancel some events.
Okay, so that was Dean talking. I'm going to ask you how that was. So I'm going to use the polling functionality, and we're just going to ask you. So it's going to come up on your screen now. Okay, I'm going to stop the polling now. So we've got 86% of you voted. Brilliant. I'm going to end the polling, and it will show, and then I'll show you the results. So for 60% of you, it was absolutely fine. That came through fine. You could hear Dean speaking all right, and then the video was fine as well. So that was great. And then, but for the other percentage, 40% of you, audio was out of sync, the video was choppy. So there's issues with it. So what we're going to do now is going to do a different version of it. And this is a file that's saved on my computer. So what we're doing is cutting out that little step of it being streamed from YouTube first. And we'll see if that makes a difference to the results that we get. That is a very flattering frozen slide of Dean there.
Hi, it's Dean from the Digital Culture Network, and you, like me, you're probably stuck at home at the moment, and you probably had to cancel some conferences or live events, and you're wondering how you can still.
So was that any better? So we're going to do a poll again to see if there's any difference. Okay, see the results come in. Okay, this is a good 90%. So more of you voted this time. Thank you. 91. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to end the poll. So I'm going to share the results with you now. So we've just seen that by having that video file on our computer, we've increased the user experience by 20%. So we've now got 79% of people that it was actually fine. You know, watching that video, hearing Dean, and no issues with the audio out of sync or anything like that. So it just shows you that even though we've improved things, some people are still getting issues. Now, when you're delivering things like this, there's only so much you can do, and you need to be aware that even if you've got the best internet connection in the world, you've done everything you can, some of your users will still have a substandard experience. So just be aware of that. There's only so much you can do, and you need to be comfortable with that. Okay, so now I'm just going to move on. We're going to go to the platforms and functionality. So we're going to jump into the poll again, and I'm going to ask you, what platforms do you use in your organization, or have you used? So if you're going to do anything online, what platforms do you have? Or you might be restricted to certain platforms based on how your organization is structured. So I'm just going to ask you a poll. We're going to see what you're using, and we're going to share that results from that one as well. Okay, so off to the poll. Stop sharing that one. Okay, here we go. See, I get to see the live viewings coming out, so I see all the bars changing, which is really exciting for me. You're missing out on this.
We just had that question coming up in the Q&A there saying, oh, do we get to see the results coming in? So yeah, you get to see those sort of bars all moving up and down, don't you? And then you can choose when you want to kind of output that to the crowd.
Yeah. Brilliant. So I'm going to stop there. Fantastic. So it's a really nice mix there. It's going to end. Yeah, if you've got others that you've added that to the chat, fantastic. So I'm just going to share the results. So 79% of you are using. I've used Zoom. We're using it now. So we've all had experience of being either attendees or actually delivering it. For the people that have used Microsoft Teams, we're really interested in your thoughts about how you're using that for external people. So if you're delivering external training or external workshops or events and using Microsoft Teams, how are you finding that? Now, the Digital Culture Network, we're using Zoom now, and we made a decision to use that because of the different elements of functionality that we find works really well for external audiences. So if you're using Microsoft Teams, I'd be interested to see what works for you in that way. And or maybe you just have to use it because of your organization. It's really interesting seeing that, people delivering stuff on Facebook, Instagram, and we've got some people using Skype to deliver offline stuff, online things. So I'd be interested to see how that works for you. Excellent, fantastic. Right, I'm going to stop sharing that, and we're just going to move on to the next one. So brilliant. Look at that. I love this chat. I like using Zoom because I can blur some of my wrinkles. That's fantastic. Everyone has that setting set on. Brilliant. Okay, just going to close that down. Brilliant. So just back to my screen here. So some of the platforms that I'm just going to go into and talk about the different functionality is Zoom, which 79% of you have used for your thing. So you're probably familiar with the functionality, but it's good for us to go through these. We're using the poll function, we're using the chat facility here, but I'm also going to show a couple of extra bits that you can use. Got YouTube as well, which many of us has used for just watching videos, but for live streaming into and using as a delivery platform works really well. And then Microsoft Teams as well. I'm going to talk about some of the functionality that has, its latest developments, and then where some of the issues are that we find when we're using that. So first off, Zoom, we're using it now. It works well. There's a reason why it is exploded across the globe as the go-to content delivery platform, because it's got inbuilt interactivity, which is fantastic, such as the chat, such as the polls, and such as whiteboards. Now, I'm not going to show you the whiteboard functionality, but I'm going to show you Jamboards instead, which works very similarly, but there's reasons why we like Jamboards more, but we'll show you that later on. But what Zoom does is act as a video processing. So instead of having additional hardware or additional software, it's doing all the encoding for you. So it's doing it all as part of the app, and then it's sending all this video content. So I'm screen sharing my second screen. I could be doing other things, but it's pushing that all through its channels, all through the internet over to you. Now, what Zoom can do is actually integrate with other platforms as well. So when we first started doing these, we were using Zoom as the encoding platform, but sending through the live stream to YouTube. And what that allowed us to do is keep everything away from Zoom, and then our attendees would access it on YouTube. And there's loads of ways that Zoom can integrate with many different platforms, and that's what we really like about it. It just opens it up to all the different ways that you might want to stream. So you can send it through to YouTube, you can send it through to Facebook, and in other places as well. The sharing functionality and what makes it interactive and built into Zoom is being able to share your screen. You can also share different files if you wish, video files, audio files, and you can also share the content from a second camera. So when you press the share button, if you are running one of these meetings, you can share from a second camera. So you might have something, an additional webcam plugged into your computer, or you could be using your phone. So if you have your mobile phone, there are apps for Android and iOS that will turn your phone into a webcam. So you don't have to buy another webcam. Now, you could give that a go and see if that works for you. I'm just going to show you the second webcam I've got here, which is just above my head. I'm just going to show you how you could potentially use that for running workshops, and definitely arts and crafts like workshops, things like that, or something that you need to physically show and you're not trying to do it like in front of this camera here. So I just go to the share option, I choose the advanced, and then I choose content from second camera. And then you'll see me, and my hands appear. This is my desk, look at this. I've got my nice glass of water, which we'll go into later. And if you wanted to show something, can anybody guess what this is going to be? I've left the hardest part to last, and I have these really, these safety scissors that are really difficult to cut with, so I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, please don't cut yourself live on this webinar, please, James. Safety first.
They are safety scissors. Oh yeah, I don't know. This is an anatomically correct cutout of the tech champions. So obviously 9 of us. There we go. Someone knows it. People chain. There we go. Fantastic. Look at this. Here's one I made earlier. Wow, brilliant. So that's a great thing about it. You can still see my face here, but then you can see what I'm doing as well. So it's really good for displaying things like that. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to switch it back to my second screen. Okay, brilliant. So you can easily switch between that, and you could have multiple ones. You could have different cameras at different angles. You could actually, if you wanted to, strap it to your head and be looking down at stuff, or have it over your shoulder if you wanted to show it in that way. There's loads of different ways. Now, the second platform we wanted to talk about was YouTube. Now, have any of you been to events on YouTube? I know there was lots at the very beginning of lockdown. So you had National Theatre Live doing huge performances on YouTube, and we ran ours on there, so we found it really good. The reason why we found it really good is that people were familiar with this as an interface. They usually have used YouTube in the past, and they can interact using the chat facility. So you'll see on the right hand side of the screen here is the chat facility for the webinar that we ran at the beginning of last year. And I was the only person using Zoom, and we were streaming it from Zoom using its live stream functionality through to YouTube. And that worked really well for us. And what's great about it is that it's instantly available for anybody to rewatch. So any of those attendees could then watch back at any point as soon as it had finished. So they could just skip back to any point in it. They could interact with us on the chat, and then it's just instantly shareable. Now you'll find that webinar and that recording on our YouTube channel. So it then becomes, it turns it from being one thing of just a live webinar into an evergreen piece of content. So we can reuse that anytime. It's just going to be there forevermore now, because the content is still great content, and we wanted it to be accessible to more than just those attendees on that session. I'm just going to go to the next slide. This is an example of what the National Video Game Museum have been doing as well. So you'll notice the visuals are very different to what mine was on the page before, because what they're doing is using another piece of software, and it's most likely something such as OBS Studio or others. And what you can do with that is frame it. So the content that you want to share, so they're sharing how to build this game. They've got that in the center of the screen. Now the speaker is in the bottom right, and then they've got this nice banner around the side. Now, if you want to know more about this kind of stuff and how to really make your live streaming or your events more professional in that way, then please join us next week, because next Wednesday, Dean, our other tech champion, so our content tech champion, is going to be going through how you can make your live stream events really exciting using all these kind of different pieces of software to bring this content together in a much more engaging way than just a screen share, such as what we're doing today. So please join us next week. And lastly, we've got Teams, so Microsoft Teams. Now, a lot of us have been using Teams because it's licensed by our organization, so we have to. We had to put a case together to get Zoom and use that. And Zoom has come a long way in the last year. But what we've found is that Microsoft Teams, it's in the name. It's called Teams for a reason, because it's based around collaborative team working and having meetings and running sessions in your organization. We found it very, very restrictive when we're trying to do things outside of the organization. So, for example, we couldn't stream anything we're doing on that through to Zoom. So that was cut off a lot of our audience. And there's issues around all the different functionality it's got. There's stuff that you can do that's very similar to Zoom, but it's kind of, you have to work your way around a lot of the stuff. But it is a great collaboration tool, and they've just released breakout rooms into the software. So we're going to review it. We're going to keep reviewing it and see if it's comparable, and maybe that's something we can use in the future. Be really interested to see your thoughts on using this for external audiences and training. If you'd like to put any of your thoughts in the chat. Next, sorry, Nick, he popped up and disappeared.
Yeah, I was just going to say they've also released waiting room as well, which I think is quite a big deal, especially if you're doing sort of, meetings and then you want to allow people to come in rather than them just sort of diving straight in like they would do on Teams. So I think that waiting room functionality is quite good as well, and that's improved things a lot. That's
great, isn't it? Yeah, I think as I say, it's constantly being developed because they're trying to claw market share back off Zoom. But we find Zoom, that permission level that you can set at all the different levels for different users works really well, and how you can restrict functionality to certain people. Yeah, sorry, Elaine. Yes, they do. They have breakout rooms have been released in the latest version of Teams. So give it a go. If you update your software, you might be able to give it a go. So next, it's another question time. So it's over to you guys again. What makes, now have a think about it. We were going to do breakout rooms again here, but we're not. We're going to do something slightly different. Have a think about these two questions, and we're going to put some ideas together as a group. So the question is, what makes good training content? So what does work? What do you want to hear? If you're attending a workshop about a certain thing or training, what should the content be like? What works for you as a user? And then secondly, what makes good training delivery? Finishing a sentence correctly is the first one, I imagine. So what makes good training content? What makes good training delivery? So those are the two questions. Now what we're going to do as a group is we're going to use Microsoft Jamboard now. So we're going to whiz off over that. Now, if you don't want to play around with it, just stay where you are, and we're going to I'll screen share what I can see on my screen. You can see that. If you do want to get involved, Nick's going to put a link in the chat, and we're going to start using that. So I'm going to show you what that looks like now. Switch over to this. So this is Microsoft Jamboard. Now this is free, so you'll need a Google account to set the Jamboard up, but any of your anonymous users can go on here. And if you go over to the left-hand side, there's a little icon called a sticky note. If you press that, type something in. Clear speaking is definitely one of the things for training delivery. So I'm going to write that in, tap it, close out of there, and then you can move them. So all of our attendees can start moving that around. So I'm going to move that there. You can resize these. You can change the colors as well. I'm going to have a look at what that is. So please go ahead and fill that out with some of your thoughts, and we'll have a look at that together.
I love seeing all these coming in. It feels like Minority Report, doesn't it? Just all these post-it notes moving around.
It's fantastic. Absolutely love it. This is so interactive. Interesting. It says there's too many people trying to access. We have too many people. So I did not know this. There must be a cap on the amount of users. Apologies for those who can't get in. So I wonder how much, do we know? Do we know what the cap is, Nick?
No, but let's find out, and we'll make sure to include that in the resources. And also, we've got a great how-to video for this that we found that talks about how you set up your own Jamboards and how you use them. So we'll make sure to put that in the resources section as well after this.
Brilliant. So apologies. Yeah, it seems to be there's a 30-person cap. So the first day. So if you'd like to add yours in and then come out, and then more people can come in after you. So it looks like, I'm just looking at the numbers we have at the top of the screen here. So it looks like there's about 15 people in there now. So if you could try again, if you want to come in there. I know we'd love a breakout room. It's fantastic. Someone's drawn a line. Fantastic. It's great to see this coming in. Brilliant. Great. Shall we have a chat about some of this then, Nick, that we're seeing here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. So what makes good training content? So the actual content that we're seeing. So we've got well-prepared material. Yes, absolutely. An engaging speaker. I hope I'm engaging you. Some examples of different things. Tangible examples, brilliant. Clear diagrams. Yeah, I agree with all these things I'm seeing. Real life examples or games or breakout. Fantastic. Participation. We're doing that now. Tick. And that's what we're trying to do in this session that we've got today. I know we've not been able to do the breakout rooms, and you know, we've come across some issues such as this cap on people that can see this, but we're trying to show you that by breaking up as you go through a training session, instead of an hour-long presentation of someone just delivering content at you, by making it interactive in this way, you get more ownership about what we're exploring today, and you can put forward your own ideas. So we learn so much from what we show us here. It's great. Someone just loves this. I like it. Oh, I'm just going to jump back. So someone's. Oh, have we jumped to a second screen? What's happened here? Someone's cleared it, I think.
Someone hated all the suggestions and they cleared it. They cleared it all.
No. Whoever it was that cleared it, go on the back button if you can. Oh, well, there you go. There's another example of it just going wrong. Brilliant. Yes, the participants can do it. You can restrict what they can and can't do. Some can just have the viewing. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. So what I'm going to do is now a screen cap of that. So I've just, if you're using Microsoft 10, that's what I'm using. If you do shift the Windows button and S, it will give you this, and you're allowed to click and drag. And that will screen cap a certain section of the screen, and then it saves it into Sketch. So I've got this saved here. I'm just going to save that. Now, there's similar tools like snip tools that you can have within Apple as well. So I'm just put my screenshot there. happening. So I've screenshotted it, which means I can then come back to Zoom and share it with you as participants. So maybe I can't. Okay. We're gonna share that with you in with the resources, so we'll send that with you. So a screenshot of this, so you can take this away and look at all those things, great ideas about what makes content, what's good training content, and what good training delivery as well. So back to the delivery side, we've got interactive engagement, humor, structure, being funny and relatable. So yeah, we find that the personality must come through on these things. If you're reading from a script, it just removes all your personality. So by doing things like this, and just be happy to make mistakes. So just reading through the chat. So firstly, what is breakout rooms? Now we can talk about it in more detail later on, but essentially what that does is takes a certain number of your attendees and pops them into private groups, so they can all see each other and interact away from the main room. And we'll send further resources about what that means. And then Terry's just asked about the screenshot. So you can either do the print screen button on your computer. Usually you press that, it will do a print screen. What I used, because I'm using a Windows 10 device, is I used the screen snip tool. And you can access that by pressing Shift, then the Windows key, and then S. So Shift, Windows key, and S. And then that brings this like target button up for my icon, and then you can select certain element, and then it'll capture that. It'll go into it's called Snip and Sketch. Okay. So yeah, save there, and then I can take that away. But we'll share that with you in the resources post. Great. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Robert. Command Shift and 4 on a Mac. There you go. Brilliant. There we go. So that's some of the technical things that you can do with functionality. And again, we will share more things with the different platforms and what you can and can't do. Yeah, just we'll go into the Jamboard bit, so I'm just reading the chat. Okay, so now we're on to the technical setup. I think we've got time to do Q&A, a short Q&A at the end. So if there's anything else, other questions, we can cover them as we go to that stage. For the technical setup, this is what works for us. Now, you don't have to have all this. You can just have a computer with a webcam, and you could do it without a webcam because you can do it with your phone. So if you have you could have like an iPad, you could do it with that. But this is our setup, and this is what works for us. And we're going to talk through some of the things what that means. So firstly, a stable internet connection is your most important thing. If it drops out, if you have bad Wi-Fi or a really poor internet speed, it's going to affect the delivery that you can do. If you want to check the broadband speed that you have, if you type internet speed or speed check into Google, it'll actually give you a little box. So I can show you how that works for me. So I'll go here. I'm going to go to Google. Speed test, that's what I say. Speed test, and then you can run a speed test, and it will show how fast your internet is. Now I've got part fiber. I can't remember what it is. It's like 15 megabits per second. But you need a certain speed for you to deliver anything, because it's the up speed, which is the most important one if you're delivering anything like this, because it's stuff that's going from your computer and up into the internet. So it's the upload speed that's most important. Just going to jump straight back to this, back to our technical setup. So if you can, try and plug it directly in to your broadband router with an Ethernet cable. Now, some devices don't have those things, but it's only if you can, try and do that. We find it really helps the stability of the connection. Secondly is using an additional mic. So in that picture down at the bottom, we've got a lapel mic, and that just attaches to you here on your top, and it really cuts out the other noise around you. If you've got like a toddler screaming like I had earlier on, or a really busy road, or something like that, it really helps the clarity of the voice come through. Because people that are watching the things that you deliver are fine having dodgy video sometimes if it goes a bit pixelated and things, but if the audio goes, it just ruins it for a lot of people. That's why the captioning helps as well, so it kind of mitigates against that. There are other things like USB mics, such as this one is it's called a snowball, and Dean's going to go into some more information about this kind of stuff, so please join the webinar next week. And the next is a second person. We have Nick just popping up there. Having him around and helping me through this is really, really essential, because when things need to be added to the chat, that second person really is really useful for that. And just to help facilitate everything we want, answer some of your questions, or tell me if something's going wrong. So that second person is really useful. And because we're all working digitally now, and we can be completely remotely, but working collaboratively, you can have that person no matter where they are. Next is test everything in advance. We've got Dolly there giving it a thumbs up. What we do as a Digital Culture Network is that we run the session with our tech champions first to see whether the content can be reordered. We can cut stuff out. Some stuff doesn't make sense, all that kind of stuff. And we find it works really well. So if you've got colleagues or friends and family that you can run a session to first, you can then see what that user experience will be on the other end. And then have plenty of water to hand. You'll see me sipping away as we go along. But I did a webinar last year, and halfway through, I ran out of water. I know I was dry throat, and it was horrific. What I should have done is gone, just excuse me for about 30 seconds. I'm just going to pause my video and go downstairs. But I struggled on and spoke like this for the rest of the thing. And then ran downstairs and got a glass of water afterwards. Thank you, Becca. That is a brilliant picture. So this is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm looking at. This is my desk, my plastic plant. No, they're real. No, they're plastic. So why this works, and I was explaining earlier on, is that I'm looking at you into this, and this is where all my notes are, because that is the PowerPoint presentation mode. And I'm sharing the screen that's over here on my left-hand side. So I can see what you're seeing, but I've got all my notes. I can see the chat on this screen. So because you don't want to see those things. So it allows me to put it off over there. And it works very well. And I've got a bendy arm on my phone, so I can have things on that as well. And I have improved the laptop razor from a box file. It's now a nice little thing. So yes, I need to update this picture. But what I do, and I've done it here as well, is that I've got a breakdown, a bullet point list. So it's not a script, it's a bullet point list of what I'm going to cover. And I've got that pasted physically on the wall behind me, so I can work through the different parts of it. You'll see in this, there's multiple pages, because that was a really technical and in-depth webinar. So I needed to make sure I was covering all the points and I knew what was going to come up next. And there's also a little post-it note that says slow down, because no matter how slow you think you're going when you're speaking, your attendees are trying to take in whatever you're saying, and you're going at a million miles an hour. And poor Amanda is typing away trying to follow me, so apologies, Amanda. But it allows me to take those breaks, because breaks are fine. The next step is accessibility. So we're going to talk about some of the things with accessibility, but please watch Roberta's webinar on accessibility for content, so about your websites and online delivery as well. So there's parts of the webinar that will be that do focus on those areas, so you can find that on our website. And firstly, I'm going to talk about the subtitling and captions. Now, if you haven't tried it out yet, you can press the CC button at the bottom of the screen, and that will show you what Amanda is typing as she's listening to what I'm saying. Now, you'll see that it's called closed captions across most platforms, and there is a difference between subtitles and closed captions, but they're kind of grouped together as a closed caption. Now, subtitles, they assume an audience can actually hear the audio, or it needs to be transcribed so you can read it, or there's a translation. So if you're watching like a Spanish film, you've got a translation there. Now, the terminology for closed captioning is that it also includes sound effects such as door slams, or drops mic, or like relevant musical cues as well. So those kind of things are actually added into the proper definition of closed captions. So what we're using today is subtitling, but it's named as closed captions within it. That's the symbol you'll see in most places. So we've also got British Sign Language. So some of the platforms available allow you to have another video view of an attendee that's doing the British Sign Language. So then the users could pin that user to their screen and then watch it that way. And there's also recorded content you have, you might want to then caption and subtitle. So with live subtitling, there's different ways of doing it. So we've got Amanda doing it live for us. So she's typing into a special keyboard to make this happen. There are automated captioning and subtitling functionality built into platforms now. So you can try those out. They're not always as accurate as what Amanda is doing today, but there's something to test out. So that's built into platforms such as PowerPoint, so you can turn that on. So there's options to do it. So next time you turn this on, try running with those. And for the recorded content you have, if you upload it into YouTube, it'll automatically try and do a transcription of what you're saying. And you can download that file, edit it, and then re-upload it into YouTube. So you can make sure that it actually says what you want it to say. And there are lots of tools out there that we can share in the resources, again, which uses AI, so artificial intelligence, to understand what you're saying and then add that to the videos that you produce. So there are lots of different ways of doing it. And again, we'll send resources about that, because there's stuff from Disability Arts Online and Stage Text. They have some great resources on that. Yes, I've just noticed that Hannah's mentioned otter.ai. That's one of the things that we've been in meetings before, and it actually records the audio from the meeting and transcribes it as you go along. So I just wanted to show you what some organizations have done. So the Black Country Museum, if you've never used TikTok before, I recommend giving it a go just to see this. Now they launched their account in August, and because they have it's a living museum, they have actors acting out those characters from the past with that regional accent. And you'll see on the third and fourth slide there, in the top, they've actually got the captions, so the subtitling built in. So they've done it. So it's really good because the regional accent, trying to understand what they're saying in that way, for some users is quite difficult, but it's just another way of seeing it. Like, I've watched videos loads of times when I've not had the audio on, because I just want to view the visuals and see the captioning against it. I do that all the time, and you might as well. So it just, by making your content accessible, it makes it more accessible to more people. And this is a quick one, just to show that inbuilt, if you're doing anything like this, you might have noticed when I was pointing and clicking things that my mouse is black. As standard, it's white, but you can use the accessibility settings within your platform. So it'll be on Mac and PC. You can just change it. So I've changed my mouse color to black to make it easy to see, but I could actually change the pointer size so it's bigger. So if I'm doing a screen share and someone's watching this on a mobile, it's quite hard to see where my mouse is clicking. So that might be something that to think about when you're doing that. And our last section we're going to talk about briefly, because we're running out of time, is the follow-up. So if you'd like to add to the chat, what would you want? So after this session, what do you want from me? What do you want from me and Nick? What would you like us to do? Resources, great. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. I'd like I'd like you in the cupboard. Just pop out. Hello. I'd like to go into an office. That would be nice.
And Ben has said a pub quiz.
Fantastic.
I think that's a great idea.
Oh yes, that'd be great. Yeah. Yes. Excellent. Amazing. These are brilliant. Love them. So I'm going to show you what I put in because I've preempted some of these. So firstly, this is what we're going to send you. We're going to send you a recording of the session. Now you'll be able to find that online on our website, and on that website page will be the resources. So all the stuff that we talked about that we'll send you will be links to all those things. So you can find that on our website. You'll also be able to find it on our YouTube channel. So it's the same video will be there. We'll also have the additional resources that I mentioned. So all the things, they're all in there. We're also going to send you a survey. Now, the reason for this is it helps us to understand whether this was any good. Now, we're going to ask if you'd like to fill that out when it comes through. It really helps us as a team and how we deliver things. So what can be improved and what can be removed? So if there's content that you found in here that is just useless for you, just let us know. If you found something that is really useful, then please tell us, because that'll help us deliver more things that are going to work for you as our audience. And when that comes through, please just fill it out and just let us know. We do read it. We have cried a few times, but it's fine. We can take it. And then lastly, lastly is promoting our future events, because this is long term. We are going to be running more and more events. Let us know what you want to hear. So in that survey, it'll ask you, what do you want to see after this? What would be really useful for you? So our next event is next Wednesday, and that's with Dean. And it really, really links into what we've talked about today. So it's all about live streaming, about the kit, the processes, and how to put it all together. And Dean's fantastic, and he has the best intro to any webinar you've ever been on. I promise you that. So we've got we've got three minutes left of this hour, and then we'll just talk through a few questions that may have come up. If there's anything burning that we've missed, just chuck it in now.
Yeah, we've got absolutely tons of questions, so we're really not going to be able to get through everything. But what we're going to do is, after this, we'll go through all of the chat, we'll go through the Q&A, and pick out those questions, and we'll try and just include them in the follow-up resources. So please don't worry if we've not been able to answer live. But I'm just going to dive in and go in with a few of these questions, James. So Lisa asks, I'm really nervous to do live events. I much prefer the controlled aspect of doing a pre-recorded event. What do you think the benefits of having something that's live and something that's pre-recorded?
I think the live is what we've done today, is that two-way interaction. Some of the stuff that we've delivered, like the technical things at webinars, do work when it's pre-recorded now, because you can get it spot on as you go through. Whereas this kind of stuff, where we're asking polls and two-way interaction, if we could do breakout rooms, that's where the live element really works. But there's nothing stopping you doing a mix of two. So you could have pre-recorded content that you play, and it might look like you're doing it live. Now, I'm not saying anything, but if you watch the webinar next week, Dean's gonna show you some of that in action about how to have pre-recorded content.
Yeah, I think that's important, and there are some elements that you can't replace by doing pre-recorded. I've attended a few different webinars where they've just streamed a pre-recorded content session, and then the Q&A bit is live. So it's just, I think that works quite well, because you still get the access to the speaker that you want. So I think that is good. A few questions about minimum upload speed. Is that something that you can advise on, James, or we can go away and research? What have you sort of found is, if you've got what would be the minimum to do some sort of event?
Yeah, it tells you when you do those speed tests. It kind of tells you what whether you can have multiple streams, this kind of things. Now, I don't have the exact numbers, but I think Zoom tells you, I think it's like 1.5 megabit upload. I think that's the minimum that it recommends, but we'll confirm that in the resources that we sent. We'll do some more. We'll get the exact numbers for you.
Awesome. Yeah, and Beth has made a really good point really about functionalities between the browser versions of things and also the app. So Zoom has different functionality if you're using and accessing it via a browser, and whether you're doing it via the app. And I don't think closed captions are available to people if they're accessing via the browser. So if there are certain things that you are doing that really rely on someone using the app or not in the browser, just make sure you've kind of planned that and you've gone through those different eventualities and where people might be coming in from. And part of our pre-event emails, we said, if you are wanting to access the closed captions, then you need to be in the app version. So I think that's a really great point, Beth, to kind of go through those and make sure that what functionality is available to people and what's not. Right, I think that's all we have time for. I'm afraid we've got absolutely tons of questions, but we have hit 3 o'clock now. So like I said, we'll go through those and we'll pick out those questions, and we'll make sure we can include them in the follow-up resources for you after this event.
Yeah, and all those resources and the website is free to access for anybody. Just saw a couple of questions around that. You don't need a password, just go on the website and it's all there. So yes, thank you for joining us, and please join us next week for Dean's fantastic webinar as well.
Awesome, thank you everyone.